Chris, hit it off with some news. I was going to say, Gabe,
I'll hit it off and I'll wrap it up.
There you go.
That's perfect.
So
lead your people.
We got some news that Gearbox Entertainment, which is the studio behind Borderlands, might be up for sale again. Ooh. As reports have begun to surface that Embracer Group, who's recently been kind of looking to sell off a lot of different things, is looking for potential buyers for the company. Now, speaking to Reuters, sources that are, the typical familiar with the matter, explain that the Embracer Group has received interest from prospective buyers, and how much they would look for is kind of, you would think it's going to be a pretty penny, because Gearbox was originally purchased for $1.3 billion back in only February of 2021.
Wow.
So Embracer Group hasn't had them that long, but considering that Embracer Group's been kind of stuck in this little area, if I remember correctly, I hope I'm not getting it, my stories mixed up in my brain, but they basically had all this funding that was going to come in, and then that funding ended up falling through. I think it was something like $2 billion. So ever since that funding fell out, they've been like, oh, okay, we need to make sure we sell off things that we definitely don't need and close down things. So they've had studios that have been closing. We heard that the people that were doing Saints Row Volition, I believe it is, are getting shut down, and that was an Embracer Group studio. So it's looking like now. I think in this article, kind of without explicitly saying it, kind of hints to the fact that Gearbox is valuable. So this article is like, yes, they're shopping around and they can get the right price, then absolutely they will sell them off. But I don't think Gearbox is at all in danger of maybe just possibly getting shut down or something. Like somebody, if Embracer Group really feels like they need to offload Gearbox, somebody is going to buy them. I mean, Borderlands always sells well. That's not all they do, but I'm kind of blanking on what else they do at the moment. But yeah, somebody would want to, I can't believe that somebody wouldn't want to snatch up Gearbox. I mean, looking
at you, Sony, at this point.
Yeah,
right?
That's one of the things that kind of worries me. It's like now that we've gotten in this space, it's just, you feel like anybody who gets in a situation like this, or even if they're not in this situation, they're just successful studio, you have to start thinking about, is Sony or Microsoft or somebody else going to come by and want to, lock them down kind of thing for their own, portfolio. And I don't really like being in that realm, but that's the realm that we kind of have found ourselves in. So if Embracer does get in this point where they definitely want to sell, you've got to think there's going to be plenty of people who'd be willing to write a check, whether or not it's the amount that they want to get, who knows, but there's got to be people willing to pay.
I mean, I could see maybe a Ubisoft too, but it's one of those things where I'm kind of with you. Like, do you think it would have to be somebody as big as like Microsoft or Sony? I feel like Microsoft's tied up with Activision. I don't know if they're going to keep going after more companies. They have the money probably.
Yeah, Microsoft to me seems like once the Activision thing gets done, I'm not going to say that they're going to be, folding up their wallet and putting it away and not be interested in buying anything. But I don't foresee them being in the runnings for any other relatively large acquisition for a while, just because they don't really need to be. I mean, 1.3 billion, let's say that they just bought it for what Embracer Group bought them for before. Like, that's nothing. They bought Bethesda for 7.2 and now they're buying Activision for 67. It's like 1.3 billion. You could make the case that to them is just like chump change. So maybe they would be into it because it's like, we can get them for that cheap kind of thing when you compare to what the last two things that they've done. But I just feel like Microsoft's going to be holding off for a while, I would assume, because they don't really have a need for anymore unless they just really want to get greedy, I guess. I don't know how to better to phrase it, but I don't know.
I mean, the Borderlands series is so great. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, what other, besides like a Microsoft or a Sony, what other company could come in and,
I mean, I could maybe see EA being interested in something. I mean, I don't know what their financials are at this point in time, but they don't have anything like this that I can recall.
It's so unique too.
The only thing that they have that's something like this, at least in terms of genre, because they have shooter prowess, is Respawn. So, but they're not, I don't think you could at all say that they compete. Their games that they have made really compete with the likes of a Borderlands. They're so different. The only thing that they have in common really is being a first person shooter. So
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think I could see them maybe being like, hey, this like kind of helps us shore up a genre or an area in our portfolio. We don't really have a lot of stuff. Maybe.
Yeah. That's true.
But
it's a good thought.
I don't know. I don't really know about that one. Maybe Tencent jump in there. I mean, they seem to be buying everything, tons of stuff as well. So
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. That's not a bad idea.